Welcome to this Weather Impact Alert Update. I'm Drew Carney, standing alongside Chris McGinness. So if you've been paying attention to the forecast this week, you know that today begins the run of really extreme weather. We're calling this a Weather Impact Alert. So let's talk about what is the impact here.
Yeah, the impact is an excessive heat warning now in effect for basically the entire Willamette Valley and the I-5 corridor through 8 p.m. Monday. And throughout the week, that time frame has actually been extended a little bit. And here's the latest on that. It may have to be extended another day into Tuesday as we look at the models that are continuing to zero in on a solution that keeps us excessively hot for days, right? So right now, it's this whole magenta shading here from Longview south to Eugene. It does include the Columbia River Gorge, the parts of the Columbia Basin. Through 8 p.m. Monday for the west side, I do want to point out, too, that folks in the East Gorge, Columbia Basin, and Eastern Oregon, we do see a break for Western Oregon, but Eastern Oregon is likely to remain hot all through next week. So
one of the real dangers here is how cool it's not getting overnight. I mean, we're used to things being hot during the day during the summer around here, and then having those nice cool nights where we get a break.
And we can thank the low humidity for that.
Right.
However, in this case, it's just going to be so warm that even during the overnight hours, we're not going to be recovering, right? We are talking about the potential not only of record highs, but also record warm overnights, where days where Portland maybe doesn't get below 70 degrees, and day after day after day as that builds, it makes it exceptionally hard for people that don't have access to air conditioning. And
it's really the string of days here that is starting to make this a remarkable, memorable event, if you will, because I know we've had days of 100-degree temperatures in a row, even recently.
Yeah.
But 5? One time.
Records of PDX go back to 1941. And that, incidentally, was the year that Portland ripped off 5 consecutive 100-degree days. We have done 4 in a row, twice, 1981, and actually last year we had a stretch of 4 100-degree days in August. We got all the way up to 108. We've got 5 on our 7-day forecast. Now, today, we're close, right? I mean, we may or may not get there, but I don't think, I mean, the statisticians at home will say, well, you hit 98 or 99, you were wrong. Well, were we? I mean, technically,
people
yes.
do like to see that triple-digit number. When you talk about triple digits, people want to see it actually get to 100.
Yeah. So if we make the claim, that's what we think. So the point is that the weather pattern is really conducive to this, and this is the weather pattern. We'll geek out a little bit here. This is the upper level 500 millibar height map, and what this basically shows us, you can probably... the non-meteorologist here probably has a good idea what the colors mean, right? The orange represents the warm.
Doesn't blue usually mean cool?
Well, blue means cool, but in this case, I'm using that to represent high pressure. But that is true, and you'll notice that warm bubble, that warm dome, just sits over us for days and days and days. So not only is the warm air mass in place, but it will be warming over time. And the other thing that high pressure aloft does is that you get sinking air, and so as you get sinking air, the air also warms as it comes down. So that's one of the things that allows this thing to kind of increase the heat day by day, right? So in any event, what I show you here is that by midweek, we finally knocked down that dome a little bit. You do notice that Eastern Oregon is still very much impacted by that, and we're close to it here in Portland, but we're hoping that we chip away at that midweek. So if we're looking to break the heat wave, it might be Wednesday or Thursday for the western part of the state. The eastern part of the state, maybe not so much.
Don't you have something in your toolbox that you just wipe that thing out altogether? Just bring this.
You know, Alaska is looking quite nice right about now. Alaska is actually running below average for quite a while. So.
You know, and we'll talk about the temperatures over the course of the weekend here real quickly. But I think a lot of people saw this coming and thought it's 4th of July weekend. They could probably escape some way, somehow, maybe up to the mountain, maybe to the beach. The fact is, this is going to last into the work week now.
Yeah, it is going to last into the work week. So we're pretty sure about that now. And one of the things that people ask, like, where are we getting these numbers from, right? Because you even asked me this morning off the air, hey, my app doesn't say that at all.
I did check the phone this morning before I came to work, and I'm like, wow, there's no 100-degree temperatures on my phone app until Tuesday, I think.
Doubting us.
Just questioning.
So I thought I'd peel back the curtain a little bit more, just to give folks at home an idea of maybe how these forecasts come about. And during these big weather events, I've kind of referenced this a few times. There's this thing called the National Blend of Models, and what it is a big conglomerate of dozens of models from around the world. We put them all together, we get one big supermodel. All right, that's a little nerdy.
He's in the supermodel business now.
You see, yes, we are. And the point is that we get these different ranges, right? And what I want you to focus on is this. 50% 101. What that means is that 50% of the models in this quote-unquote supermodel are spitting out 101 or hotter for Portland. So statistically, that gives us some really good confidence. But don't just take that. Look at the range here, 25 to 75%. I mean, if you take most of the models in here are forecasting 99 to 103. Okay. You've got pretty high confidence that the 95 that you're seeing on your app, they probably did not get it from a reputable source. Why you should continue watching us. In any event, I'll stop patting myself on the back here and just show you that day after day after day, watch what happens. That's Friday. Here's Saturday. That 50 percentile is still right at 101, but note the 25 and 75, it bumps up just a little bit. And then watch what happens on Sunday. It bumps up a little bit more. And the 106 that you see down here, by the way, we generally throw out the outliers and we say, okay, that's too low, that's too high. It's not that this might not happen. Right. It's just all things considered, you like to go with what the high probabilities are. The point is
the likelihood is less.
Is less.
But that's crazy because even the small number is a big number.
Is a big number. It's 100, right? So this is why we have such confidence of day after day after day of triple-digit heat. So that's what we're looking at. In the short term, we are going to set some record highs. The record highs, you probably look at upper 90s and say, oh, that's July. It should be doing that, right? So that I would call those soft records. Those are the records, 98, 97, 95 for the next couple days. This is our forecast. And as we get into the 7-day forecast, let me go ahead and bring that up. We extend that one. Well, let's see what happened there.
Sometimes you have to knock on it, right?
This is expensive, so you probably don't want to do that. But we'll show you the 7-day forecast in a minute. But the point is that we wrap off a couple more 100-degree days before we see cooling. So that's where we're at.
If someone's new to the area, or even if you've been here for a while, you may be surprised to learn that the average temperature in the Portland area, July and August, is really only at like 80, 81?
Yeah.
82?
Yeah.
I mean, that's lower than I think a lot of people probably think for the summertime.
Yeah, and that average is getting warmer. I mean, over time, it is absolutely, and there's a reason for, 20, 30 years ago, homes in the Northwest, a lot of folks didn't have AC.
Right.
That has changed quite a bit in the last 20 years, and it's had to because our summers are, in fact, getting hotter. It used to be 10 to 12 90-degree days you'd call it a summer.
Yep.
We're getting very quickly to the point where 10 to 12 90-degree days may be the typical July.
I was going to say, I think a couple of years ago we had like 9 90-degree days in September. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but we...
Well, and then we got into October and we had 12 80-degree days, right?
Okay.
I mean, okay, the 80s aren't so bad. In October, we call that bonus weather.
Yes.
But when you start talking about 90s and 100s, that's when the weather gets dangerous, but it gets especially dangerous for people that don't have access to air conditioning, right? And we're not cooling off as much, and the heat builds day after day after day. And so that's where we're really running into trouble. And there's one other thing that we should probably bring up now that we're just past the 4th of July is we had an okay spring in terms of rain.
Yes, talking fire danger.
So there's a lot of grass out there that grew nicely, and then we had a warm, nice spring, but not too hot. All of a sudden, we're going to dry that stuff out like that, like literally like that. And so by this time next week, our fire danger could very well be off the charts.
Right. I mean, we did talk at length over the course of the last few weeks about how, hey, it's so great that we had those cooler temperatures, that we had some wetter weather in May and June.
That postpones the start of fire season. But the point is once grass gets no rain for 2 weeks, and then you throw in triple-digit temperatures for day after day after day after day, that accelerates. That it's an exponential drying of the fuel, right? And so obviously all the fire officials have been talking about the very high fire risk and anything that could throw a spark. And that's, I mean, common sense is with fireworks and whatnot, and with the burn bans, but also things like towing chains on your car that could light a fire. Where you park, the hot catalytic converter under your car on dry grass, that could spark a fire. So these things all happen, and that's why we talk about that.
Do you have the power to pull up the 7-day forecast?
I can do that. First, I wanted to point out right now that in the, you're probably watching this later, but for those of you that are streaming this live, it is now 8:22 on a Friday morning, and it's already almost 70 degrees. So we are, the air down here where we are is much warmer than it was yesterday at this time, and the air through the depth of the atmosphere is warmer as well. So the air mass itself is warming, and I will go ahead and bring up that 7 days so we can, because that's, all the talking that we're doing here, that's probably the only thing that matters, honestly. So we'll go ahead and bring that 7-day up, and here it is. And I don't know if you want to see this or not, but there it is. So real quick, I told you about that national blend of models, Drew. I wanted to focus in on, you know,
We're going back to the supermodel?
the supermodel here. You can see that it does, you know, the middle of the guidance does start to cool us off a little bit, you know, 94, 89, 88 towards the end of next week.
That's late next week, though.
That is late next week, and you'll also notice that there are some outliers that still have the triple-digit heat lingering, you know, another day or two. So I think
you have to have good eyesight to be a meteorologist. Those numbers are small.
Well, they are small, but I sometimes put my glasses on and I highlight the here. Let me.
Still doesn't work.
Does that work?
It's
no,
that small.
That doesn't work. It is that small, but the numbers are big, and the numbers are not going to be very kind to us. So it's just, you know, stay hydrated. Being out in the sun for folks that have to work out in it, they don't have a choice, right? You're going to have to just do all the things. Stay shady, you know, keep the ice water handy and frequent. And yeah, here we go.
That is meteorologist Chris McGinness. I'm Drew Carney. This has been a weather impact alert update. Final words here. Stay cool as best you can. Definitely stay safe with whatever you do for the remainder of this holiday weekend.
And Rod does not escape this one because we joke about how I had to do some of the hot weather things here. Well, Rod's coming back next week, and he's going to have to talk about this. So if you're out there watching Rod, we're going to put you to work early next week.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
Have a great weekend.